This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. I'll be reading, I think the rest of, I'm on page 17. There are 24 pages to finish Vanity Fair's follow-up report to Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone a year ago did a report on rape at University of Virginia, and it was an explosive, sensationalized version of what happened. It was quickly discredited, later retracted. I have two comments, my own unscripted words. Then I will begin reading the rest of, this will be my third part. It should be final, three of three parts. Vanity Fair follow up to Rolling Stone. Two comments. One, I am motivated to do this because I learned the Rolling Stone article was discredited. It was a story that I believed as credible and factual. And I got duped. I accepted Rolling Stone as a credible account, and I was forced to reconcile why I was mistaken. So I turned back to Rolling Stone. I read that. That recording is on my YouTube audio. I've also been blogging and text editorializing about what it is in that report that should have told me I was being misled, or should have, it had the potential to alert me to being misled. Comment two is this story is told over a year and a half by two different news organizations, Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair. I'm now reading Vanity Fair. Two different writers, and the reference to the same people is not always the same. It's confusing. Erdely is a reporter who's later called Sabrina, and Sabrina is her middle name. This is something I attempted to clarify with a roster in the text attached to this YouTube audio. So listeners, please note if you find these names confusing, just a click away is a roster that will tell you who these people are. With that, I turn to page 17 of 24. These page numbers do not reconcile with the Vanity Fair print version because these are copied by me and printed on a regular 8.5 by 11 page. So on my printing, it's page 17 to 24. A recent Vanity Fair with Mark Zuckerberg on the cover, September 2015. I pick up where I left off. We got together to say, this is what's coming. Are you prepared for this? Sandra told me what was coming, they feared, was a virulent backlash against a false accusation, an onslaught of victim blaming. The women wanted to support Jackie because they sensed that what was about to follow would be difficult. They also gingerly wanted to get some explanations for their inconsistencies in her story. They told her that the Post story would be out soon. and that she knew Pinkerton lost her temper. She told Jackie she would stop thinking about herself and start thinking about the damage a discredited story would do to the movement against sexual assault. Pinkerton told me that the conversation was heated and that she doesn't remember what everyone said, but does remember that at one point, frustrated, told them, I don't even know why I talk to you guys anymore. Sara and Alex, you all have been such shitty friends lately. The women told Jackie that Shapiro had offered her one last chance to tell him what really happened. Sara Surface and Alex Pinkerton, friends of Jackie, the young woman whose story about to allege gang rape at a fraternity formed the heart of a now redacted 2014 Rolling Stones article by Melanie Lyra Bartell. Later that night, they met with Shapiro in an academic building where Jackie repeated her story again, including such details as the color of the alarm clock. To Pinkerton, the level of detail about the room seemed unusually vivid. Jackie was adamant what she had told Erdely was what really happened. That in her story, Jackie said, that night, Sabrina, Rubin, Erdely, whom had been engaged in her own effort to find Drew, who had just spoken to Jackie, called Pinkerton at 1 a.m. I need to hear from you. If her story was true, she said Pinkerton's reconciliation. And I said, I don't think you should have written the article. The following morning, December 5th, Pinkerton said she received another call from Ederly. I'm writing the retraction right now. I just need to hear one more time what you think. Pinkerton told me. She started bawling and said, I'm going to lose my job. That same day, the Washington Post wrote that Phi Kappa Psi said that it had not held an event the night of Jackie's alleged rape, and that the friends who had spoken to Jackie then had heard details of her attack and were different from what was in the Rolling Stone article. Rolling Stone's managing editor, Will Diane, issued a statement later that day, which the magazine admitted to mistakes in the story and apologized to readers. Dana would leave the magazine in August. Will Dana issued a statement later that day in which the magazine admitted to mistakes in the story and apologized to readers. Dana would leave the magazine in August. In the next week, the Post identified further holes in the story. The friends of Jackie provided Shapiro with text messages from Jackie that made it seem that they may have simply invented the Drew character in the Rolling Stone article. Some speculation about another source for certain details in Jackie's account. In 2011, a UVA alum named Liz Sucurio published a book in which she described how, as a student in 1984, in the midst of a date function at Phi Kappa Psi, she had ventured upstairs been drugged into a room and raped repeatedly. Eramo has sued Erdely and Rolling Stones for nearly $8 million for the way she is described and quoted in the story, which she has claimed is false and defamatory. 3 Phi Kappa Psi brothers, one of which lived in the second floor bedroom of the fraternity house, have sued Rolling Stone and Erdely for causing them mental anguish and severe emotional distress, even though they were not named in Erdely's story. Renda and Pinkleton, not to mention Jackie, have all been personally attacked by media outlets for their role in the article. Shortly after the publication, the Rolling Stone statement, Jackie vanished. Renda, Surface, and Pinkleton have now heard from her that in the 9 months since her story fell apart, approached through her attorney, Jackie has declined to answer questions. For Renda, the rest of the year has been all hell and hopelessness. The experience has made her abandon the ideas of working with sexual assault survivors. She told me she is headed to law school, electing to go to Berkeley, as far away from UVA as she could get. I don't want to say it's been the worst year of my life, but it has been the worst year of my life. When the Rolling Stone story appeared, my UVA friends and I were transfixed by it and took the account at face value. There was a reason for that. Extreme as Jackie's story was, it touched on something recognizable about UVA. While fraternity pledging ritual that involved gang rape was shocking, there were certain aspects of UVA in its history and its rituals that could be characterized and debunked, dehumanizing, or just plain bizarre. When I was applying to college, my brother, who had gone to Princeton, was in his first year at UVA law school. My mother told me she thought I'd like the young women better at UVA than at Princeton, and I applied early and was accepted. I arrived with a flowered bedspread, curling iron. I dressed up for football games, and in the spring of my first year, pledged a sorority. We attended fraternity mixers where we drank grain punch scooped from a garbage can. I heard stories of fraternity hazing and secret societies. On the night I was inducted into Tri Delt, we drank a lot and wore blindfolds. I think we may have had to wear our bras outside our blouses, but only for a short time and only in the company of sorority sisters. Vomiting or occasional simulated fellatio on bottles, as there was, however, for the women in society at UVA, known as Thursdays, a secret society that was essentially a drinking club. There was no staged fighting or bodily penetration with fruit, as I had heard about. However, from friends, in the male drinking society known as El Banana, which at one point in the late 19th century was disbanded for its behavior, but then allowed to re-materialize. On bid night, secret societies tap their intimates. Some of them drinking societies have been known to gather privately in a basement for a cockfight. This is the kind of atmosphere when someone could be forgiven for thinking that misogynistic or violent episodes might occur. Pimps and hoes, mixers between fraternities and sororities, were still pretty common when I was a student. And when I started reporting the story, I was certain that I didn't know anyone who had been sexually assaulted at UVA. That changed within hours of calling friends, and I came to understand that what passed for a bad hookup when I was in college is today what we would rightly call rape, which was precisely Renda's point. We just weren't talking much about any of it. When we did talk about it, we tried to laugh it off. I'm sure this is true at most colleges, but UVA has a particularly challenging past, as it was among the last of the flagship state universities in the country to become coeducational in 1970, and did so even then under the threat of a federal lawsuit. When women were first admitted, UVA men referred to female classmates as U bags. The act of violence was responsible for the creation of a vaulted honor system in the first place. During a disturbance in 1940, a masked student shot at and killed a professor who had tried to restore order. The honor system today is overseen by a 27 student honor committee. Grew out of that incident. Students agreed to vouch for one another and to be voluntarily report episodes of misbehavior since 1998. UVA has expelled 178 students for lying, cheating, stealing, but not a single student has been kicked out for sexual assault. The deliberations and confidential. And there have been allegations of both vigilante justice and out of a double standard at play. In 1990, the Washington Post, in an article exploring the honor system, reported that in 1988, J. Bradley Lum, the honor committee chair at the time, was accused of plagiarism. In a letter he wrote to incoming students, introducing them, ironically, to the honor system, he was cleared by an investigation. Lum's successor, Lonnie Chaffin, has been convicted of sexual assault involving the Charlottesville police. He was voted off the honors committee, but not expelled for the university. The opening pages of the Rolling Stone story, the Columbia report on the Rolling Stones article, which found failures in all levels of the magazine's editorial process, was made public in early April. By then, the university was caught up in yet another controversy. The day, St. Patrick's Day, UVA students started seeing a cell phone video from the night before popped up in the social media feeds. It showed a fellow UVA student, Martese Johnson, who is black, lying on the pavement outside a bar on the corner, his face bloodied, with two white ABC agents on his back. He kept yelling, "I go to UVA." It was a linguistic amulet that was both heartbreaking and ineffective. I made it to page 21 of 24. I'm so close. This is Tom Duty. It's raining. I'm in this man park, Union City, New Jersey, near the Lincoln Tunnel, and it's got a shelter for the rain. It's absolutely perfect for a middle-aged man with time to burn with his wife who has social plans tonight. Ding! The rain canceled my wife's plans. I'm going to meet her bus. So page 21, I will eventually read this thing. I've been interrupted by the police. I'll get through it. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.